To multiply polynomials, I'm going to show you guys how to do this using the box method. So what's great about this is it works for anything that you're multiplying together. So whether it's a binomial times a binomial, two terms times two terms like we've done before, or in this case where it's a binomial times a trinomial, or really anything, we could multiply any size polynomial together using this box method. So I'm going to draw a 2 by 3 rectangle this time. Because I've got two terms which I'll put on one side, and then three terms which I'll put along the top. So negative 2y squared, 3y, and negative 6. And then as we've done in the past with two terms times two terms, I'm just going to go ahead and multiply every row by every column and see what I get. So now that we're multiplying, exponents are going to be changing. If it helps you, add ones as exponents to those if you need to. Otherwise, just make sure you're adding up exponents when you multiply. So this first box will be negative 2y to the third power once I add up those exponents, followed by 3y squared, and then negative 6 times y is negative 6y. Do the same for the bottom row, so negative 2y squared times negative 2 is positive 4, y to the second power, followed by negative 6, y to the first, and then negative 6 times negative 2 is positive 12. All those numbers within that box now are going to get pulled out and added together, and we're going to combine like terms to get our final answer. So make sure we're still in descending order, so start with your highest exponent, which is the negative 2y to the third piece, and if you want to, you can kind of cross them out as you go. Next up, I've got two y squared terms. Notice they're located right there diagonally. They should be, as long as you've put your terms in descending order. Your like terms should be diagonally like that. So add them up, meaning we'll add up the coefficients and keep the exponent the same at this point. So plus 7y squared. And I'll cross them out. Next up are my y terms. Negative 6y plus negative 6y does not cancel out. That just becomes minus 12y. And then finally, I've got just the constant at the end, so plus 12. And there's going to be the product of those two polynomials multiplied together. An easy way to check this, if you have a graphing calculator, by the way, take your graphing calculator out, graph the original problem as y1, so type it in just the way it appears there. As y2, graph your answer. And if you're right, you should see just one graph, because they should represent the exact same thing. We can use the box method again to multiply three expressions together, in this case three binomials. Now what I'd recommend doing is let's go ahead and just focus on multiplying two things at a time. So let's start with what I just boxed there in purple. Let's multiply those two pieces together. So if you can do that in your head, great. If you like FOIL, you can go ahead and use FOIL. I'm going to show you the box method again for this. We've done these problems before. So I've got x minus 5 on one side and x plus 1 on the other. It doesn't matter where things go. Multiply rows and columns together. So this gets me x squared, negative 5x, positive 1x, and then negative 5. And once again, I'm going to pull everything out of the box and add those like terms together. So I've got x squared minus 4x, and then minus 5. Now that's not my answer. That's what I got when I multiplied the first two pieces together. But what I still need to do is now multiply that third piece into there. Luckily, we know how to do that. We just took a look at an example of how to multiply a trinomial by a binomial using the box method. So this is just a two-step problem. So what I'd like you to do is pause the video, try what we just did up above with this part right here, and let's see if we get the same answer. Otherwise, you can let the video play through. My work will pop up in just a couple seconds. There you go. Hopefully you guys came up with the same answer out there. X to the third minus x squared minus 17x minus 15. In one of our previous videos, we talked about when we were or were not allowed to distribute exponents. In a case like this, because there are two terms inside of the parentheses, because I see that plus sign separating them, I am not allowed to distribute the exponent. So don't even think about doing that. Instead, what 2x plus 3 squared actually means is to do 2x plus 3 times itself. So really, this is just another box method problem. So we could start with a 2 by 2 box if you're not able to do that in your head, or if you don't, or if you like to do FOIL, I guess you could use FOIL or distributed property. But I like the box method, so it's just two terms times two terms, and then multiply every row by every column. So 4x squared, 6x, 6x, and then a 9 down there. Once I pull everything out of the box and add up like terms, I've got 4x squared plus 12x, and then plus 9. Our last example has us working with volume and using what we just worked with, multiplying polynomials together, to combine it with some stuff from geometry using volume. So we're given a cube right here. All the sides of the cube are the same length. I can see the tick marks on there. So all the sides are x minus 5. And hopefully you recall from geometry that to find the volume of a prism, or in this case, a specific prism, the cube, it's length times width times height, or since all those things are the same in this case, it's just x minus 5 cubed, x minus 5 to the third power. Well, as we just discussed, we are absolutely not allowed to distribute that exponent, so what x minus 5 to the third means is just x minus 5 times x minus 5 times x minus 5. And once again, the good news is we just did a problem that looked just like that. It was the two-step problem we did on the previous screen. So again, what I'd like you to do is pause the video, try this problem all the way from the beginning. Remember, start with multiplying the first two together and then get that answer multiplied by the third piece. So my work will pop up in a couple seconds if you want to check your answer. But again, go ahead and pause it and try this one on your own. So there's the polynomial that represents the volume of this cube, x to the third minus 15x squared plus 75x minus 125. If you got it right, awesome. If not, double check your work against mine or ask me a question in class.